Hey everybody, I want to talk about the Apostle Paul misquoting Isaiah. You can check out Isaiah 59 verse 20 and see for yourself and compare that to Romans, where Paul says in Romans, that the deliverer will come out of Zion to turn away ungodliness from Jacob. That's not in the Hebrew. If you check out the Dead Sea Scrolls and if you check out the Masoretic text, that's not what it says. The Masoretic text and the Dead Sea Scrolls both say the deliverer will come to Zion, to those who turn from transgression. Okay, so you need to think about this stuff. Why would Paul misquote it? And if you want to say that, well, Paul was appealing to the Septuagint translation of the Hebrew, I would ask, well, why would Paul use a Greek translation when Paul himself says that the Jews were entrusted with the oracles of God? What language did the Jews speak? It was Hebrew. Why would the Jews be using a Greek translation in their synagogues and stuff like that? That doesn't make a lot of sense. You know what I mean? As if they would, no. Okay? So Romans chapter 3 verse 2 says, to the Jew was trusted the oracles of God, the words of God, not the Greeks. You know what I mean? Hebrew was the language of the Jews and has been the language of the Jews for thousands of years. You know what I mean? So to say that, well, the Septuagint is right and Paul quotes the Septuagint, I would just say Romans chapter 3 verse 2. And that's all it is. You know what I mean? So like I said, Paul claims that in Romans that, well, the deliverer will come out of Zion. He says out of, but that's actually added by Paul in the Greek. That's not even in the Septuagint. And the Masoretic text and Dead Sea Scrolls say to Zion. And then Paul says, to turn away ungodliness from Jacob, meaning that a Messiah is supposed to come and turn people from their sins and save them from their sins. You know what I mean? Versus the Masoretic text and the Dead Sea Scrolls, which say that a deliverer will come, to Zion, not out of Zion, to Zion, to those who turn from transgression in Jacob. Okay, so that means that either God himself or a Messiah is supposed to come to Israel, to those who have repented of their sins, not to save people from their sins, not to turn them from their sins, but after they repented, after they have turned away from their sins. So it's just some stuff to think about. You know what I mean? So anyway, just think about that stuff.